Hello and happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. We are loading up for the last race here at Woodbine, and I'm holding my my co-host here hostage as I got a nice win bet on this 8 horse here. Mark, who do you like in the last at Woodbine?
What's Woodbine? I've never heard of this place.
All right, Caleb, did you accidentally cap Woodbine again like you did last weekend?
No, I did not.
Damn it!
I took the 5.
I'll take any horse that's not whatever Josh is live to.
Oh, I like the 8, but they just opened up. We'll see what happens here. But man, you know, Caleb, I want to congratulate you on being off the hot start in our Saratoga one-a-days. So congratulations to you. I know I think you have 2 winners so far and a nice little cushion here.
Oh, I thought it was 3 today for sure. 11 ran me down out of nowhere.
Yeah, I didn't see that race, but I did like your 10 a bit there in that spot. I also like to think like the 12, and there's another horse in there I like.
Yeah, 12 made a lot of sense. I watched that race I think I've watched the replay about 3 times. I still don't know what happened and why it happened, and I'm baffled. The turf has me.
I got a message on Twitter actually, and someone's like, "Gutsy ride by Manny," and I completely agree. I mean, only thing I can be upset about with that race is the result, because Manny split horses, timed the move perfectly. It looked every bit a winner at the 8th hole, but just got caught late by Whisper Not. So that's okay. I mean, it was a good ride, and we'll take the place money.
Yeah, I've never
win that at all.
I've never seen the turf this inversely biased. I mean, turf at Saratoga tends to be pretty speed favoring, especially on the inner, and it is just a closer fest right now. It is absolutely bizarre. You do not want to be anywhere near the lead. It's just an odd surface right now.
Yeah, Alex saying the horse was shuffled back.
Yeah, it was. Too,
so.
But all the top 3 were all shuffled back. So is it shuffled back, or was that an intentionally get shuffled back?
I don't know, man. I can't make sense of Saratoga whatsoever. The first day, I think I had like a couple of nice winners, and like basically since then, I've had absolutely no clue. I am very excited to take a look at Del Mar starting tomorrow. As of right now, I may be doing a live stream tomorrow with one of our frequent visitors to chat, Mr. Nick Sievers, on the Racing Dudes channel. But we'll see. We'll see if I'm able to get off work. I think we should be able to make it happen. But Saturday, this is kind of the start, right? This is the start where we're really getting into the meat of the summer racing. We're finally getting to these really big races, and it starts with the Haskell. So we got a nice little card here at Monmouth, quality wise, I would say, but I don't know. I think depth, maybe there's a little lack of. There's some very nice horses running this weekend.
Oh, PDT, Josh has mentioned that he could talk for at least 30 minutes about just the Haskell.
Dude, I think it's a very interesting race, and I think PDT asks. That's the question you have to ask yourself, right? I think that's where it starts and stops, and if you look past the Baffert horse, then it gets really interesting. But we'll get there.
You are the Baffert simp in here, so.
Yeah, and I don't know. I had a hard time just,
We already know who you're choosing. We know. I mean, the people know.
Do people know who I'm choosing in that race?
Yeah, you're the Baffert simp. Like you're the.
Oh no, I'm not. I don't. If I use the Baffert, I still got to use like another 4 horses. So that's probably leads me to not using the Baffert horse. But we will. We'll talk about defensive bees later. But some of us will. But yeah, let's. I don't know. So we're gonna kind of start from race 8. Funny story here. There is no late pick 5. There's no pick 5 that ends in the Haskell for some godforsaken reason. There's a pick 6 that starts in race 8, or I
So
think so. They call it.
if
It's
it has a
20
goofy name,
cent.
it's probably a jackpot. Jersey
Yeah.
Shore pick six.
Race 9 though does have
It's
a
20 cents
$500,000
jackpot.
guaranteed pick 4, so maybe that's the play. I mean, obviously, if you have a rebate, since the pick 4 is just an absolute ripoff at every track except for Assiniboia and Hawthorne for some reason. But we're gonna get started here. Race 8, the Monmouth Cup, mile and the eighth, grade 3 for 3-year-olds and up. Yeah, I think we kind of get started here with proxy. And I don't see our 100% proxy stan, Daddy Proxy. I do not see him in chat. But I went a different route here. And to nobody's surprise, I'm sure, I actually landed on the 7-horse Wayland Springs in this race. You know, I think when you kind of look at this race from a pace perspective, it gets a little bit murky. There's not really a 100% true leader in here whatsoever. So I think Wayland Springs might be the one that kind of inherits the lead in this spot, and you get Jose Ferrer aboard, and he's generally one of the better Mid-Atlantic riders. He's only winning at 14% right now, but I don't know. He's one going a mile here at Monmouth. There's that speed figure matches up pretty well. I haven't had a chance to compare any other speed figures yet, but I think on pace and price, I think Wayland Springs is really interesting, and I have him as my top pick in here. Caleb, where did you kind of land?
Yeah, I mean, I won't spend a lot of time on this race really because Proxy really is supposed to win. Um, he's not won races he's supposed to have won before, so that doesn't really mean a whole lot. And he is coming off of a really flat performance in the Stephen Foster, where he admittedly had a tough trip, but at 3-1, a horse that maybe doesn't win all the time, but seems to always show up. For him not to show up, I mean, that's a little bit of a head scratcher, but ultimately, I mean, I'm more of the position that Ellis Park was kind of wonky. It was extremely difficult to make up ground at all pretty much that entire Churchill Ellis hybrid meet. So I'm kind of electing to kind of toss that race and assume that he just didn't care for the surface, had some trouble. And plus, he's probably not a super legit grade 1 horse, despite the fact that he won the Clark. So I just think he's too good for these. If I was going to use a second horse, Josh, it would be your 7, Wayland Springs, simply from a pace dynamic perspective. I don't see any speed in here, really, unless maybe the 4 tries to go or somebody. But I do think the 7 gets out there and does it as easily as he wants. But this is a big step up, in class and distance, tackling 2 turns. There's a lot of question marks around Wayland Springs doing this kind of a trip against this company. But to me, it's going to be Proxy. If I have a second horse, it'll be Wayland Springs.
Mark?
Proxy wins this in an absolute laugher. He's just towers above this field. I don't need to talk about it anymore. One thing I will say is, Josh, I'm a little disappointed. You hate everything that is, I don't know, hate everything good about horse racing. You love everything that's wrong with horse racing. So I'm disappointed you didn't, fall in love with calibrating here. I mean, Jamie Ness, he is your type of trainer. I mean, I figured you'd be a big, calibrate fan here.
All the big figures have been marathon distances, which are naturally inflated on Brisnut, so I just don't think the horse is fast enough. Pretty easy. I don't know. I think it's pretty easy not to use that horse, but I don't know. Sorry, I'm trying to see. Apparently, my video is lagging again, so I'm trying to see if there's something I can do, but I don't think there is. So let's keep moving on. Well, anything else in here, Mark? Or are you just?
I'm gonna single Proxy. I just don't know how you get around. He's just towers above this field. Like he's 3-5. He should be 3-5. He should win easily. I'm not gonna get creative here.
All right, taking the horse against the pace. Do it at your own peril, Mark. Because I know Caleb's gonna have a saver with my horse on it, so that makes me feel a little good. But there'll be that'll boom him. Race 9 here, 5.5 furlong sprint, the Wolf Hill 100K, 3-year-olds and up. And let's take a look here. This is another one. This was an interesting race for me because at least looking on paper, and you see a lot of speed in this race, but man, like a turf sprint falling apart. I mean that just doesn't really happen. So I don't know. I had a hard time kind of looking through this race, trying to figure out what I was going to do with the speed horses. But Mark, where did you kind of land?
I do agree with you. There's a lot of speed on paper here, but the speed of the speed is nothing better. I think he's the inside drawn of the real speed balls. Should be over. Should be able to get the rail, and I think nothing better is just really, really going to be tough in this race. Getting some class relief, off from the company he's been facing with the Caravel and Beer Can Man of the Worlds the last couple. Nothing better. I think is just going to be amazingly tough in here, and I'd love to see Louis aboard because there's nobody that I think of better as a getting to the front end and controlling a race than Louis. Not that this is going to need a lot of controlling, but I think nothing better. It's just the best horse in the race, and I think it's really hard to get past him.
Yeah, I agree with Mark. That's why I said in chat, I think we can probably get through the whole sequence in like 4 minutes because they're just. I mean, the field sizes are fine. It's just the
quality isn't
there. Competitive level is not quite there. It seems. I mean, it's 10 horse fields, of which maybe 2 to 3 have a realistic shot, in my opinion. I think nothing better is he's like a single A for me, pretty much for the reasons Mark mentioned. He's just been facing better. He's faster. And I kind of like him on this little cutback here to 5.5 from 6. So, I like nothing better. I do think 4 Harp is a little interesting, who's kind of been, all over the place, dirt, turf, sprint routes, but typically just shows up. Not nearly as classy as nothing better, but is probably one of the few horses in here that can come close to matching on figures. So I thought 4 Harp was a little bit interesting. And then if I was going to take a deeper stab, I would maybe give a look to a horse like the 1 Amon. Simply just because the way I sort of handicap it is the 7 and the 9 are the most likely winners, and they're by far the most likely winners. If one of those two don't win, it's probably because it absolutely melts down. And I would say the 1 with Rosario, he just feels like that kind of horse that scoops in from the clouds and nails you at the wire when he wasn't in the picture for the first half of the race. So he needs to run faster, but I thought that was a nice effort last time out on the first time trying 5.5 furlongs. He spent most of his career as a miler. But again, this is a horse that's going to be more like a backup ticket for me. I think nothing better is going to be the primary play. I'll have some going through 4 Harp and then just a sprinkle through Raymond.
Interesting that you guys are taking the speed horse, and I went back and forth and I couldn't pick a speed horse, so I went with Closer, the 5 Witty in this spot. Last time out did obviously lose to 4 Harp that won the race before here, but is getting a slight cutback here. Does get of a jockey upgrade. No offense to Mr. Karamanos, but gets Tyler Gaffney on the board here. So I don't know. I just think there's a little bit more speed in this race than there was Laurel Dash last time out. And I think this is going to set up for somebody off the pace. I did look at the 1. I like the 1 with Rosario aboard. I also did like the 4 a little bit in the spot, Belgrano. And that's mainly because I knew this is a JJ horse that Mark wouldn't have, and I would just absolutely love to just hold this over his head the entire time. But in all reality, this is, if you go back to I know races here, go back to the Janus, where there was, a bit of pace in front of this horse. This horse was able to close, win, and beat Nothing Better, who is probably going to be the favorite in this race. So I thought Belgrano made a little bit of sense here. I think I like Witty as kind of my top pick. I mean, like I said, if there were other spots that I could go, I had like a dead single that wasn't like 3 to 5 or 4 to 5. Maybe I could, justify using a couple of the short races in here in was it the 7, nothing better, and I believe was it the 8? No, the 9, 4 left. I or 4 harp. Sorry. Those are the other two that I thought did make. Obviously, they make sense in the spot, but I think this is just another case where I'm going to try and get around chalk Caleb style and probably pay the price of whatever my ticket costs in one of these races. So I'm going to have 5 as my lone A in the spot. I'm going to use the 4 and the 1 as Bs. And I don't know if we see if we see a scratch or two of speed, I'll probably use one of the speed horses. I think it changes the complexion of the pace, but at least with all the horses entered, I really do like the 5 here.
So, Josh, I'm kind of shocked that, or I guess I should say Josh, just to either of you. I thought somebody would mention the 2 midday image, the Jacobson horse. Obviously, he's hitting at a really high percentage, and he goes to a jock that he's got pretty good connections with. And horse is a horse that does seem to really like this 5.5 furlong trip, and has been in pretty good form after the barn switch. He hasn't run a race recently that's fast enough to win this, but it does seem like his form is improving a little bit. So I thought he was the only other horse that I would kind of look at and go, okay, that's another interesting speed tip. And it's a speed ball that can pass horses. So if they do go a little crazy on the front end, Castillo can sit third or fourth in here and, maybe make one run.
Yeah, I looked at him, Mark, and I thought he was interesting. I guess my biggest issue with him was just that he was even money in that Laurel Dash last time, and in a race that got wired, he kind of was unable to make up ground and actually lost ground. And to me, I'm just like, this field's probably better than that. He's not going to get the lead here again. I just struggle to see a scenario that it sets up for a 7-year-old to come up with a career top when he couldn't quite get it done last time at 4-1 anyway. But he is a horse I think he does make some sense, but I'd probably need better value.
Caleb hates non-big name jockeys. Our friend Stephen Fox says so.
Isaac Castillo, he's fine.
Anything else in this race?
No, not for me.
Nope.
Do we just skip race 10?
I think 10's actually a little interesting.
I do.
Really?
This is where I'm extracting value from the sequence. Wow, one of 2 places.
Really, because I think this is just wow. Okay, so we do this sequence completely different because I just assume search results is just going to romp in this race like she did last year. So, I don't really have much to add besides that. There's nobody else in this race. But Caleb, I'm interested to hear what you say. Not so much Mark.
I'm going to what I thought would be kind of the Josh horse, actually. The number 6, Loved. And you've heard my opinions in the first 2. I think some of these, these races look extremely chalky. Maybe her results are just too good for these, but she hasn't really finished off some races that it feels like she should have in her last couple. And I get it. They're grade 1s. I'm not really poking holes too much saying that she can't win this race or she's supposed to win this race. But, 2 back, losing to Played Hard, then it looks like she really had the race, won and then, couldn't quite hold off Clairiere. I think she's going to be odds on, and I think I know how good she is. Whereas I think with a horse like Loved, I don't know how good she is. She started once last year, didn't do a whole lot of running. Something went wrong, came back a year later, and she has not even been tested in 3 starts. She's been bet like a sure thing in all 3 of those starts and won like a sure thing in all 3 of those starts, just making the lead or sitting just off and then running away and hiding by open lengths in all of those efforts. She's proven from a mile all the way to a mile and 3/16, so I'm not worried about the distance. She's going to have, a controlling lead for sure. I'm not sure if she'll be loose on a slow pace, but I certainly expect her to get out to the front and go. And I think she's a horse with just a ton of upside. A 4-year-old only making her 5th career start. She's improved in all of those starts. She's been tested on fast, sloppy, 1 turn, 2 turns. And it's more just an upside play for me that search results is going to be everybody's single. It's not a hard horse to come up with. And she should win this race. She probably wins this race, maybe just under half the time, in my opinion. But I think Loved is the one horse that has a ton of upside and might just be a fresher horse on the day, a slightly better horse on the day than Search Results. So I'm going to take a shot against her.
Yeah, and I think I agree with everything Caleb says. But I think there's an argument made that Search Results maybe I don't know, it doesn't quite have the punch she did as a 4-year-old, maybe, or as a 3-year-old. Maybe she's a little bit on the downswing, and you're looking for that new, fresher face. And in these big races, I love the other Chad, and that happens to be the 3 distinctly possible, who is a horse that's won 2 in a row, 3 for 4 going this trip, never been out of the exacta going this trip, and the figures from her last out across this surface put her as a major player every bit as fast as Search Results. Now she hasn't gotten the class test, that's obvious here, but she's going to get it today. And they paid a ton for her. They obviously thought very highly of her, and she seems to be a horse that they kind of, honestly, if you look at her entire career, she's kind of gotten a little bit faster every race. But those last 2 races, to start off her, I guess she did have that Gulfstream Park over turf, try, which I don't really know what that was. But, her last 2, it seems like she may have kind of put the pieces together as a 4-year-old and be maybe really taking a step forward. And I think she's an absolutely major player in here if you can put a little bit of a chink in Search Results armor. And I think there's an argument to be said. Now, obviously, Search Results is, has been running versus, better and more tested in names we know in the Malthats of the world and Clariers and those types of horses. But I think distinctly possible, maybe kind of the new fresh face in this group.
I can't believe Mark pulled out one of the alarms.
Other Chad alarm?
No.
Is he going to go with the other Chad alarm or the mom alert? Yeah.
The mom
Yeah.
alert.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you guys are crazy, and I try to beat chalk at every single possible step of the way, but I think this is one where I just gotta take what's in front of me. But I appreciate you falling on the sword, Caleb, and this being the 4 to 5 that you don't have. I do think 8 to 5.
Take one for the team, and I mean, if you Josh, if you look at numbers, Search Results really isn't faster than anyone else. I mean, on her day maybe, but in her last couple, she's not faster than half this field. She's just a player, not a standout.
Yeah, and she's going to take way more money than her chances of winning are going to apply. And I would say, and I don't know how deep we want to go here, but another horse I find really interesting is the 7 First to Act, the Shug horse. I realize Shug's barn's been crazy cold, but her Beldam was just massive, and her Summer Colony was damn good as well. Another horse that I don't know what happened in the last at Aqueduct, and we haven't really seen her since, so I assume that something went wrong. But Shug's really good off the long layoff. You're going to get a price. You're getting Johnny V up, and if she fires back to the figure that she ran in something like that Beldam, she has to be a major player in here as well. So I think there's a lot of other horses that are not Search Results that are very interesting in here.
Alex in chat asking about the 5 Leda Vida here.
I don't trust that Timonium figure. I think that's an absolutely fluff figure. And if you kind of
Thistledown.
Yeah,
exactly. Or sorry,
not Timonium.
Thistledown's not Timonium. My bad. I think if you cross that one figure out, her form looks very different. She's not a horse that likes to cross the wire first. I would trust figures like the Pimlico figures I think are more fair, and I think Oaklawn figures are fair, and she's just too slow on any of those.
She's probably not for me. I mean, I don't really believe the last race either, not too much anyway. That's kind of my argument against Mark 7 is I just don't believe the Beldam fig. You get beat by 10 lengths and post a G2 winning figure. That just doesn't feel right. But yeah, I mean, she'll need a lot to go her way to get the job done here, which would be a surprise, I think, for me.
At least just looking at the last couple of races, this looks like a horse that needs a setup. Briz has got that last race coded with some honest pace, not necessarily fast, but 47-1, 111-3, and was able to close into that. And if you kind of go back through the PPs, the horse has not really been able to get the job done on more kind of relaxed paces. So I just probably a horse that if there was a little bit more speed in this race would look interesting, but Not for me in this spot, at least.
I will say, now that I'm looking at it in a little more, 3 of the 4 runbacks from that Lady Jacqueline actually won next time out, including 63 Caliber, who won a race at Saratoga not that long ago. Yesterday, I think it was. Um, so maybe something there, but she's tough for me to get to.
All right, anything else here? Man, I really thought you guys were just going to be search results to move on. Look at that. See, this is why we handicap the races, right?
Again, I'm not saying the results can't win. It's just kind of with my opinions elsewhere. I don't want to pick 5 that has 4 or 5 favorites in it. So she's one I'm willing to kind of say, okay, if she wins, I lose, and I'm kind of okay with that.
All right. What if I told you that there's a 30-1 horse I like in race 11?
I'm going to look for South America or E8. Let's see.
Race 11 here, the United Nations, grade 1, going a mile and 3/8 on the turf. Your 5-2 favorite is Red Knight here. And Red Knight looks pretty tough in the spot, actually. Last time out in the Manhattan, came up short. But I don't know. I think this is just a horse that needs more distance. I think if you kind of go back, that mile and a quarter thing is too short. If you look at the mile and 3/8, mile and a half races that he's run, he looks really tough in this spot. So I really do like Red Knight as kind of my top pick. But this is just another race that seems completely devoid of speed. And I thought a horse like the 2 so was possibly worth a look in the spot. As a win candidate, probably not, but one that maybe you use underneath in an exacta. So high has shown propensity to the lead in shorter races. So I think on the stretch out, I think could be a little dangerous in this spot. There just really is no speed here. And, I really think the only option that this horse has is to go. So I thought this was interesting. I mean, if you do look back, right, the horse is just completely folded up, even trying to wire. But, you kind of look back through the PPs, JJ's ridden this horse a couple times. So, if Napal Chatterpole can, convince JJ to ride this horse 4 times, maybe there's something here. But I don't know. I thought the 2 was a little interesting just with the race that's completely devoid of speed. Not necessarily a win candidate, but I think it is an interesting one underneath. One that maybe would be a little bit more interesting as a win candidate would be the 3 Catnip. You get Joel Rosario aboard, Michael Stidham, and Michael Stidham has got 7 starts here at the meet so far. Knows how to train a horse. And obviously, this horse just won a grade 3 here last time out. I forget it's the Monmouth Cup or I forget what it's called, but just kind of won the local prep for here. Is coming back here, is getting stretched out, and is 4 years old. So there's definitely still there's room for growth with this horse. So this horse could just continue to progress, and. Looking at the pedigree, I don't think distance is going to be too much of an issue. So I thought Catnip was another interesting horse that's going to be maybe not necessarily on the lead, but it's going to sit maybe in second or third, and maybe does get first jump on Red Knight. So probably more of a B type for me. I think Red Knight's probably a lone A in this spot. Mark, where did you kind of land?
I don't know how high you are, but you must be quite high if you're thinking that a horse that doesn't have a win since 2020 is going to somehow wire this field. But I will say that your 3-horse Catnip, I do think, and that's probably my top choice in here. Nothing against Red Knight. He's a solid horse, and he's a decent horse, whatever. And he shows up, and ever since moving to the Maker Barn, he's been a very different animal, and he's shown up in these types of events and done well. But I think Catnip, who's won 3 in a row, they've slowly been moving this one up the class ladder as they've been stretching him out, and it seems to be a horse that just kind of is in really good form right now, kind of getting better every start. And the pedigree, Kit Joy's on top with Silent Name on the bottom end. Should be able to get this trip. That shouldn't be too much of a problem for him. So I'll take the little more or less raced horse in Catnip as my top choice in here.
Yeah, I have really nothing to add. I had this race as 3-9 essentially. So Catnip and Red Knight. I think Red Knight's a better horse. I think Catnip has more upside and probably has a better trip, given the lack of pace in the race, like Josh mentioned. Catnip almost certainly should be ahead of Red Knight unless Rosario just truly Rosarios. But yeah, I thought Catnip ran a nice little Z pattern last time after getting shuffled back. And then Kit Clear, I thought was very impressive. Unproven at the distance, whereas Red Knight, we know kind of gets the strip. But yeah, I think they're both your two likeliest winners. I tried to look at So High, but yeah, I just couldn't get there. I mean, pace scenario would be damned. This horse just doesn't seem to win. So
yeah, and I get you, Caleb, and like I will say that. Let me see if I can pull this up. This is one of those races, right, where I looked at the optics, and I'm just kind of like I'm a little interested, right? You got the Q2 square or the Q1 square or circle up here,
but you
lone circle here. So I was kind of like,
yeah, I get that, and the horse is going to be 30 or 40 to 1, so it's like. I like where you're going when you said like underneath. I mean, I think probably third and fourth is more likely than second, but I like the angle there, and I could see that argument.
Yeah, I have no issue with that. I'll go back. I have no issue with that horse underneath to fill out a trifecta or a superfecta. Totally, the cheap speed that kind of holds on late and and gets up there in your third or fourth. Yeah, totally. That's not a problem at all. Just on top, boy, I have a really hard time getting there. And man, if I'm looking at optics, from the little I know about optics, doesn't Catnip absolutely scream off the page there?
Yeah. What's really interesting about the optics is Optics has only got 3 horses that have run a figure in the last 3 races that win this race. One is the 2 So High, 2 back. Obviously, it's a Manhattan, right? They probably upgraded it based off of class, whatever. Right? We can ignore that. The other one, obviously, Red Knight, has got a 106 and a 100. Planetario, the 6 here for Richard Mandela. The San Luis Rey 2 back kind of jumps off the page on Optics speed figure wise. Doesn't really plot out that well, so I didn't really think too much of it. But did either of you guys give the 6 a look at all on the spot?
Absolutely not. That was the fakest fig I've ever seen.
All those figs are exceedingly fake. Like all 3 of them, they're terrible. No way.
Who was the West Coast Turf horse that won this race like every year for like 3 years in a row? United.
But what was in this race?
Did he not?
I don't think so.
Hold on.
I'll let Mark Google that. But yeah, I thought it was hilarious when I saw that on Optics. I betting a West Coast Turf horse at 3 to 1 this race in the morning line, which just, I mean,
I think it's a terrible line.
You think it's a terrible line, or do you think it's?
I think it's a terrible. I think the 6 will be 8 to 1.
Yeah, Josh, I think you're misremembering things because there's no West Coast horses that have won this race.
Okay, well that's fine. Maybe I'm just thinking United and United Nations. I'm putting together there. I've only had one sip of bourbon, so it's definitely not that.
Well, I think you're thinking of what was the real good. It was United that was the real good West Coast, like legitimate American competitive level distance turf horse, right? Like that's
I think he was.
He won a lot. He was real good. Yeah. But I don't think he ever ran in this, Josh. There's a lot of horses that have won this horse though that fall into the Josh and myself money category. Whew.
I'm sure. I mean, this is going to be just an absolute this is either going to chalk out, or there's going to be some fucking possible winner somewhere in here, and it's just going to be heartbreaking, and then it's going to pay stacks. So,
what do you guys think of before we move on, the number 1 Therapist? Because this is a horse that I mean, he's been around the block a few times. Like, let's be honest. He's a 8-year-old gelding with 41 starts. And I just knew in my heart of hearts, this is a miler, 7 furlongs kind of horse. And then all of a sudden, and that's what every trainer prior to Mike Maker also thought. And then eventually Mike Maker gets this horse. And as he is, prone to do, he stretches him out at crazy distances and the horse just responds. I mean, all of a sudden, this horse has been revitalized as a long distance turf marathoner with a win in a grade 2 going a mile and a half, and then a close second at a mile and a quarter. I mean, in my mind, it's hard to break up with the idea that he doesn't want to go this far, but the recent results would indicate otherwise. I mean, did anyone use the therapist here?
I had him marked down as a B. I don't know how I would actually use him in a structure. He has that one race at a mile and a half, and it's at Gulfstream. So I don't know. I just think that's a bit suspect. I mean, maybe sure. He's not the worst, choice ever, but I don't know. I just think he's up against it. I just don't. His pedigree screams this is not what he wants to do. He does have a win, or I guess he's got a couple wins at it, or a win going a mile and a half. But besides that, I think this is just way too far. And I think he just absolutely tripped out and got lucky.
It's like that's like my problem. Is like my gut tells me it's too far, but it's hard to argue with the fact that he's got a win and a second by ahead at these distances in two of his last 3. I mean, maybe Maker just figured something out. He's never been tested this far. Maybe he just gets it. I don't know. It's a tough call for me.
I had to hit the defensive B alarm because someone in chat said it. I'm sorry, Mark. Caleb, I completely. I mean, I think you make a great point. Therapist was a nice miler. I mean, won 3 nice races. A lot of
nice New York bred stakes and even a couple of listed stakes, I think, or grade 3s.
He's a cool horse. I've always had a massive soft spot for him. He's always a horse that I really, really followed, and he's been very good to me. Let's put it that way.
I will say that like I said, I didn't get a chance to look at other figures, but the Panther really kind of stands out, and the fact that it's at Gulfstream just makes me kind of question the rest of it. So, but I mean, Ellis is legit turf. I mean, by the end of June, I think it was maybe a little bit rough because they were running on it early, and maybe it resembled more like Gulfstream turf. It was rock hard, but I don't know.
Was there a 10 in there?
A 10 what? Rock hard 10?
Or yeah, it was.
Was that a horse that you chased for a million years?
Way before your time, Josh. Way before your time.
I don't know, dude. Mark, there's so many horses that owe you money, especially turf horses going a route.
You're talking about Caleb. You're confusing the two of us. We look a lot alike, so I realize it's easy to
do,
but you're confusing us.
I don't know. Anyways, the race that I can speak about a half hour about. The grade 1 Haskell going a mile and 1/8 here on the dirt. And 3-year-olds. I mean, this is a very, very interesting race. I got through kind of handicapping it or looking through it, and I couldn't make any very just okay, I got one opinion in this race. Got one opinion. The 4 and the 5 are not going to be on any of my tickets. Mage and Tapatrice are not going to be on any of my tickets. That's my opinion in this race. And it's tough because even though I say, hey, I can't use the 4, I can't use the 5 in this race, that still does your short price Baffert as a possibility. So I think what game theory wise, I think you got to toss the 8. And then that kind of leaves me with 4 horses in this spot that I'll probably end up using in some way, shape, or form. The one horse I have keyed in as an A is Go Rocket Ride here for Richard Mandela and Mike Smith. This is the reason that Mike Smith is here. This is the reason Richard Mandela shipped this horse. And I think this is a pretty good spot. I think this is a very nice spot for the horse. Lightly raced, seemed to have kind of improved, kind of going through while adding some, and I think this is going to be. I think it's going to be a good spot because I really don't know what's going to happen with this Baffert horse. We haven't seen this horse for a while. Horse had an issue, ended up off the trail, and I don't know. I just trust the one a lot more as kind of a push button type here, sitting from just off the pace. And then I end up with a bunch of other, horses I don't know what to do with, but. I guess I'll say the one Go Rocket Ride here is my top pick. But before I go and talk about the rest of the field, Mark, where did you kind of land here?
I think I need one horse in here. That horse is Mage, and end of story. I mean, do you want me to? I can.
That's not the end of the story. No, you have to absolutely tell that because I have a feeling Caleb is also not using Mage.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool. Caleb can also not use Mage. No, I think Mage was very much pointed for the Kentucky Derby. Got really good for that, and then the Preakness was just too quick for him. And he also didn't really get his setup in that race. So I think Mage needed a bit of a break. He's gotten a bit of a break here, and he's obviously a very, very talented horse. And I think he's getting back to a race where he's a major player, and I expect him to fire a performance similar to what he did in the Kentucky Derby, and I think that makes him a major player in here. And I don't know. I mean, I guess if you're going to Go Rocket Ride, to me, he's just never run a figure that makes him makes him fast enough in here. And I mean, I expected Josh to be all over Arabian Knight, who has been off for a while, and we expect him to take a step forward here. I just Mage has done it and has done it on the big stage. I don't know if you can say that Derby Fig was a bit of an aberrant one, but I think you get kind of a return to Mage's form after a bit of a layoff, and I think he's just loaded and ready to go. He's been training really well in the mornings from everything I've seen, and I think he's the best horse in the race. That's just kind of where I ended.
I'm gonna do a Mark impression here. So Mark, you're telling me that you're going to take a horse that couldn't pass a horse named the Blazing Sevens, who's just an absolute, three-letter word of a horse. I mean, dude, Blazing Sevens kind of sucks. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know. Caleb and I picked up Blazing Sevens last year as a 2-year-old, and he sucked. So I don't know.
So I have no hate for Blazing Sevens. He's fine. He's actually in the Curlin this weekend, and he's like 4-5. He's fine. My bigger issue with Mage is that, okay, even if you buy the premise, he was pointed to the Derby, and that's why he ran that big race, which is the only race he's run that even puts him in the conversation against this field. Any of his other 4 races do not win this race. And everybody knows Derby Figs are kind of notoriously suspect, especially with the big field. He had the wicked pace up set up. Everything went his way. But even if you buy, okay, he was just primed for that race, the connections are on record saying this is a prep for the Travers. This is not the target. I mean, for me, this horse is the first horse I threw out. I thought he was terrible in the Preakness. Partially, Castellano fell asleep at the wheel and just let him fall too far out of contention. That'll
agree with.
But regardless, you expected more from him. National Treasure is not very good. Blazing Sevens, there's a reason he's not here. It's because he's not this good either. And
because he's running an optional claim tomorrow at Saratoga. That's actually why he's not here. But go on.
Blazing Sevens?
Yeah, he's in undercard stakes or
he's in the Curlin on
the Curlin with 100K, right? Is that Saturday?
Yeah, listed stakes. But
the Curlin is
he's in the Curlin
stakes.
is because Chad doesn't think enough of him to put him in the Haskell.
Exactly.
So, and this horse couldn't pass Blazing Sevens. I mean, I get the pace wasn't in his favor, but I just struggle to see Mage getting back to that Derby effort. Kentucky Derby winners are perennial underlays. He just does nothing for me. So I agree with Josh completely in that I don't want Mage. And I do not want Tappet Trice. I've seen this movie before, and I know how it ends, and that ending is Tacitus. And I just don't need Tappet Trice anywhere. People will find ways to invent trouble. I think Road Warrior or somebody. David Aragona also really likes Tappet Trice. He was wide in the Belmont. It wasn't his trip, but I'm done chasing this horse. If he decides to put it together and win the Haskell at a configuration that I think does not suit him on a track that does not suit him after not getting it done twice on tracks and configurations that I feel like he should have done better. I don't really need him. So yeah, it's not that I have anything against these horses. You know, like I don't hate Mage. I just think he's going to be overbet, and I think he needs a pace setup. And I think that he only has one race that's strong enough to win, and I don't think that's his typical race. I think that's more of the outlier. So with all that being said, this is also the first night horse I've seen that I'm probably not going to bet. Arabian Knight. I always bet night horses, given the last name, Knight. But Arabian Knight, I don't know what he is. He could be really, really good, and he could dust this field, and that's fine. But I'm willing to take a shot that a horse coming off a really big layoff, only 2 starts in the career, trounced both fields, but there wasn't a whole lot behind him in those fields. I mean, a couple of grade 3 winners maybe eventually, but I mean, it wasn't like he beat, the future, Kentucky Derby winner or anything like that. I mean, there were some soft fields. So I'm just not convinced. He could win. He could get a easy pace, just like National Treasure, and just put this field to sleep. And, I'm left tearing up my tickets, but I'm willing to take that risk because I just think there's enough question marks about this horse that I'm not willing to go there. So with that being said, where I did land as my top pick is the number 7, Extra Anejo. This is a horse that ran a ridiculously fast race as a 2-year-old at Keeneland. A time form fig of 1:19. Just absolute blitzkrieg of a race as a 2-year-old. Came back on the Derby undercard after, getting some time off and just clearly needed the race. I mean, he came out slow. He was sluggish. You could just tell he needed that race. Federal Judge is a nice horse. The show place, Dr. District, came back to win next out. It wasn't like he lost to a bunch of bums. He comes back at Ellis and kind of returned to the form that we're accustomed to seeing him, at least judging him from that 2-year-old effort. I think that Extra Anejo, I'm a big form cycle guy. He ran a huge race as a 2-year-old. He kind of needed that start in his first race at 3, and then basically paired up the race he ran at 2. Horses that pair up their 2-year-old top speed figure are generally primed to run an improved effort in their next start at 3. So I love the form cycle progression for Extra Anejo. I think he's sitting on a big race. There are also some question marks with him about the distance and a few other things, but I think the price will be good enough that I don't mind taking him, because I think the presence of Mage, Tappet Trice, and Arabian Knight are all going to result in Extra Anejo being no shorter than the 4th choice in the field. So I really like him. I think he has a ton of upside, and I'm willing to give him a shot here.
I'd like the Extra Anejo here. I did have a question about the distance, but I always forget that Into Mischief has won the Derby 2 times in a row. So, I need to. Mark's doing the math. He's like, wait, he did. But yeah. I think Extra Anejo makes a ton of sense in here. Before I get to my other, there was a lot of chat going on here while we're trashing horses' characters. One of my favorite things I've seen is these messages were seconds apart. Trish says, "Why the hate for Mage? I think he's very talented." And immediately Alex says, "Mage this year's Rich Strike." And to be fair, I think Rich Strike is still. Rich Strike did back up his Derby eventually at the Travers. Yep. He just I don't know what the heck is going on with him now. He changed barns, didn't he? Is he in someone else's barn? Bill Mott or
Asmussen barn?
Asmussen barn. I don't know. He's someone else's barn now. Trish asking a good question. How do you approach this race from a contest standpoint? Now, if we're talking pick and pray contest, then you absolutely cannot use any of the horses like Mage or Tappet Trice or.
It depends, right? Is it a 1-in-5 qualifying ratio? Is it a 1-in-65? But yeah, I tend to agree. I think you just kind of pick the winner here. I don't think there's going to be a huge variance between the 1st choice and the 5th.
Yeah, I think from a contest perspective, I'd probably go with Caleb's horse, who was my other horse I liked a lot. I assumed Caleb would be all over him, so I let Caleb go because he's much more articulate than I am. But no, I think somebody like Extra Nuevo is a horse that provides a lot of value. It's a horse that probably won't take money. I could see Mage taking money. I could see the Baffert taking money. But I don't think the 7 takes money. So I think you get a fair price in here. And I think, any size pick and pray, you're probably going to get your value there. But again, it depends on your opinion. If you're against the horse, then obviously don't take the horse.
Let's see. Oh, Road Warrior is saying if you bet Tapit Trice, you bet him in 5 Saturday. So yeah, you probably bet him 5 weeks in like some optional claimer going a mile and 16th at
Mountaineer or something. Yeah, or
Finger Lakes. Yeah. You go ahead, Mark.
No, I was just gonna say I completely agree with your analysis. He's this year's Tacitus. He's clearly the talent is there. It's just one of those things of who did he beat and what's the level? I mean, nobody he's beaten has really come back to be a monster or anything. And it just feels like he's going to take money on the connections and being a known quantity name wise. And man, there's probably a level where he belongs, but it's probably he's more of a G3 type, right? Same thing you ran into with Tacitus.
Where I want to see him run next year is I want to see him run like the Brooklyn next year. Because none of these other horses that he's racing against are going to still be racing. So he might have a shot there.
Do they run like 2 miles on dirt in the United States for like an allowance level, that last get out race at Oaklawn isn't like a 2
actually
mile
you know what
dirt.
I want to get a Breeders' Cup future bet in on Tapit Trice. Can I bet that
in what race?
Can I bet that marathon race?
The marathon's not a Breeders' Cup race anymore.
Yeah, but they run it during the Breeders' Cup. Can I?
Yeah, but it's a black type. It's a black type. It's not an official Breeders' Cup race anymore.
Come on, someone give me a future on that. But I mean, like, I don't know, man. Like these Todd Pletcher plotters, like he's gonna win. He's gonna win a race this year, and it's gonna be an underlay. I'm sorry.
What do you give me an over under on that?
Like he's gonna win a race at like 2-1, right? That he shouldn't be 2-1, and I already know. You don't
he's
think
a talented horse. Like I wouldn't argue. I'm not going to argue that he's not talented. It's just he doesn't show up, and he doesn't show up when you think he's going to show up, and it's just there's too many. I think he's more of a next year kind of horse. Maybe he's going to take a while to mature. I think maybe next year we see him win a nice race, but this year I think I've seen enough.
So he's going to win a black type in November at the Duct. That's what you're saying.
I think he probably runs like twice more and then gets like wrapped up for the year and comes back next year.
He wins a cigar mile because it's a 1-horse race. And then they retire him. No, I mean, it is a little bit. So someone,
Josh,
I forgot who it was.
The people are asking the real questions.
What does Optics say?
Circles and squares, baby.
Optics, I think, Optics is kind of a mess here because all of the horses are kind of stacked on top of each other.
That too just annihilates the plot fit.
It does. It just like has absolutely no, and like the fact that the 2 is just kind of chilling up there in the stratosphere kind of was like, hey, 30-1, like I don't know, maybe I got to include, but I don't know. It's tough. I really do think that, like, gun to my head, it's probably a 3-horse race between 1, the 7, and the 8. I just think that whoever gets position and can outlast the other 3, I think that's who wins. Maybe it does end up being your 8 Arabian Knight. I mean, he's been working like a monster, but like I said, the layoff scares me a little bit. I think Extra Nejo's coming in with a little bit more, is still lightly raced. And I think the added distance I think is going to be a plus for Extra. Go Rocket Ride seems to be kind of the slowest of the 3, but is definitely one I'm definitely going to use. So
I just wish we had one more confirmed front runner in the field, because I am afraid that Johnny V just aggressively rides Arabian Knight, and then Tyler takes up and sits second, and Mike Smith, his geriatric ass sits like sixth or something like that. And then the two horse is just riding to get a piece of it because why are you even in this race? I mean, so he takes up and tries to conserve horse, and the next thing you know, you have Baffert on a loose lead with a length and a half cushion going, 23:47 and change, and then he just, it's Baffert horses are tough to catch. Yeah, I agree with you, Alex. Like the two feels like he has to go, but it just feels like I've seen this before, and so often it feels like it doesn't set up the way it looks. So yeah, that's what scares me about Arabian Knight. I mean, I can guarantee you that I won't have Mage or Tappet Trice anywhere. They do nothing for me. Arabian Knight's the horse that really does scare me because he could be quite good, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
There.
So Brad Cox has won the last two runnings of this race. Anybody give any look to Salute the Stars, the 3? Horse seems to be improving for him, won 3 in a row. This is about the time of year where we get these sort of later developing 3-year-olds who get a little better and start to, figure things out. I was kind of going back looking at who the winners have been, and this is a horse I just completely discarded at first pass, and I've just kind of gone back, spent a couple of minutes, and I don't hate him. Like, I don't know how he gets a trip. I mean, he definitely needs probably a little. It seems like he needs a little help in front, but horses that win 3 in a row don't normally need that much help in front. They can kind of make their own trips. Anybody give him a look?
I had him as absolutely one of the horses I need to use in here. I will say I think if there does end up being some kind of weirdness up front, I don't with how juiced up this track is probably going to be, I don't want somebody closing from the clouds. I want more of a presser type, right? I don't want your deep closer. And Salute the Stars I think this just smacks him right in the face, right? I mean, he's going to be sitting fourth. He's going to be sitting like fourth or fifth this entire time, and I think he's the one who's going to get first run on the closer or on the speed. Now, I think Caleb brings up a good point. If Arabian Lion was who I thought was in this race, and I was a little excited because I thought maybe you'd get a price, but no, Arabian Knight, the steam horse from earlier this year. I mean, if he just gets out on the front end and everyone just lets him do what he wants to do, I think he's going to be tough to catch. I think we're going to see a repeat of what National Treasure did in the Preakness. But if he does get challenged by the 7 and the 1, maybe the 2, and there's a bit of a pace here, I do see a way that the 3 could win this. And I mean, like we said before, I mean, Brad Cox knows how to win this race. He's won this race, the last 2 years. This horse won the local prep, has got a nice win over the surface. So I like the 3 in this spot. The 3's probably, depending on how the rest of my ticket load, he might end up as an A, but he's definitely going to be on tickets.
I agree. I'm not maybe as high on him as you are, but I do think he's a horse that, if I'm going away from Arabian Knight, I think I absolutely have to use Salute the Stars prominently. If I end up including Arabian Knight with Extra Neho, because that is my top selection, then Salute the Stars and Go Rocket Ride are kind of the 2 horses that I am interested in, but I don't know how interested. And it likely depends on what I think of Arabian Knight come Saturday. But all that being said, he's good. He's sharp. He's in form. He's improving. He's got good connections, and I think he makes a lot of sense in here for sure.
Caleb mentioning the River Knight.
I just looked him up. He actually retired. Lifetime 1 for 71.
Yeah, that's so funny. Karina says the problem is that Rosario's up, and Karina, I did see all. I mean, I saw all your messages. She says, hey, the 8 might look like Lone Speed. It's Bob. If anyone can get a horse ready off the layoff, like, trust me, I am with you. I think if I thought Mage and Tappet Trice were actually going to take money, that this is exactly the type of Bob Baffert horse that I would be all in on. I think Arabian Knight was like plus 160 on Bovada. It was something really, really short. I don't know, Caleb, if you can pull it up real quick.
I can check real quick.
And
But I
I
do
did,
think I think he's the right favorite. I agree with that.
yeah, I think Nick also, he's asking what odds we get on Arabian Knight, and really that problem. I really think you're gonna get like 7-5 on this horse. I don't you're gonna sniff 5-2.
Yeah, I think 7-5, 6-5 is probably what you're gonna get. There's gonna be value everywhere, and I'll let him beat me. Like, I mean, I realize he's done nothing but win. He's done won easy. There's seriously some soundness issues here with him skipping the whole Derby trail, and I don't know. I mean, as somebody was talking about the works to me scream that they're trying to get him to get the distance. That they're trying to put some bottom end in this horse because they think he's short. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's a monster. Maybe he whatever. But this happens with Baffert, and yeah. But I just he can beat me. He can just absolutely beat me.
Bovada does not have it up, so
Interesting. Let me see. I saw it posted somewhere.
I will say, as far as the layoff goes, I was listening to one of the Time Form US podcast with Craig Milkowski and then David Aragona, and Craig had a stat. And take this for what it's worth, because it feels a little, I won't say cherry picked, but the sample size is low given the number of filters that is applied to it. But it's Bob Baffert in graded stakes off of a 3 to 6 month layoff with 3-year-old males. I think that was the criteria. And he's 0 for 8. So in general, Bob is good off the bench. There's no questioning that. Under these specific criteria that happen to fit this race, he's 0 for 8. How much that means to you, I guess every handicapper has to make that decision on their own. To me, I mean, it's more the way he came into this race. He wasn't a grade 1 winner, that something went wrong. He's coming back into a grade 1 race. He's a horse that has 2 impressive wins against inferior company, disappeared, and then comes back in a really tough spot. I don't know that he's this good. Whereas if it's a horse like some of Bob's other runners who typically do disappear for a while and come back but are already proven, I'm maybe a little less worried about the layoff. But this one, I think, there's definitely some vulnerability there. But again, the price is the right question. I don't know if Josh, did you find the price for him?
I didn't. I saw a screenshot that someone sent me. It looked like they had Arabian Knight at plus 160.
See, I'm surprised because with the likes of Tap It Trice and Mage and Extra Anejo and Go Rocket Ride, I struggle to see anybody under 2-1 in this field. So if he truly is, I think you're getting a great price on a couple others.
Yeah,
maybe the thought is that maybe people aren't going to bet Tap It Trice. Maybe that's the horse that floats up to 6-1. I don't know. I mean, I struggle to see Mage not taking money. But
I think extra Anuejo, your horse, is the horse that drifts, because Bovada is at plus 700. Yeah, I think that's your your price horse that provides that value. Salute the Stars, they have at 1,000. So yeah, I mean, if those two, somebody like Extra Anuejo and Salute the Stars, drift up, I'm very interested in both of those if they do.
Yeah, I don't know what site does that look like, Bovada, Caleb, or is that
I think it's online, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, it's just someone. I was talking with somebody about the.
I'm gonna check my Bet Online account to see if they have anything, but
yeah, I mean, they have Arabian Knight at plus 160. You got Mage and Tap It Trice plus 425 plus 450. So, what was that 3.5 to 1? So, yeah, I don't know. It's Extra Anejo, Go Rocket Ride, Salute the Stars. I think you're going to get your price on those, especially if Mage and Tap It Trice take money. So
yeah, nope, not Bet Online. I don't know what it is, but I agree with your premise, though. I agree.
Alex saying it's going to be so speed favoring, though. I mean, that really is the tough thing, right? Like I said, I think Caleb mentioned it. If we had one more just dead to rights, you knew this horse was going to go to the lead horse, I think you could probably, I think you'd feel better about fading a horse like Arabian Knight. I mean, honestly, at least for me, the biggest barometer being against Arabian Knight is the fact that Caleb is not betting the horse with a knight in it. So I mean, you just gotta, I don't. I and like I said, that's not to say that Extra Anejo and Go Rocket Ride aren't fast. They were fast horses early as well, but I don't know the couple races Arabian Knight has shown. He's he's got sprinter speed. It's just whether or not he's going to be able to hold that over a mile and an eighth on a fast track. But we'll see. Mark, do you have anything else capped?
Got Saratoga capped
For Saturday? You got anything on Saturday you want to talk about? You want to handicap an even faster race?
Go on.
There's only one race that you can handicap faster than.
That's on Sunday.
Oh, it's on Sunday. It's not on Saturday. Damn.
Yeah.
I was looking for the Shuvi.
This is how you know that Josh doesn't look at the races before about 30 seconds before we actually go online or go live. Yeah, that's just
and that's the funny thing, right? Like, we got some extra time, so I got the CCA Oaks up, but these races, the CCA Oaks, I think isn't a good example of it. The Shuvi, right? The Shuvi, you got two absolute monsters in that race. The problem is you only got two. You got two other horses in there. And both those horses are going to be odds on. I think the CCA Oaks is similar in that, you get Wet Paint in here, you get Gambling Girl, you get Hoosier Philly, even South Lawn is one that kind of has run a nice race, and you get a 6-horse field here. But Mark, I'm guessing I have a feeling that you're going to be pretty skinny here, and there's one horse that you like in here.
Yeah, I'm a huge Hoosier Philly fan in here. I've been kind of on the Hoosier Philly train for a while. They took care of her breathing issues, it seems like. That last effort was, much improved in the Monomoy Girl. And she's a horse that I've kind of liked for a while. And I don't really know why. Just a horse that kind of pushes my buttons and seems like it seems an interesting type. So I really like Hoosier Philly in here. I think the other interesting horse in here is Wet Paint, who is your morning line favorite, the 2-horse.
Mark,
really?
Mark, Wet Paint?
I mean, I said she's the other interesting horse. I'll be singling Hoosier Philly, but she's the other player in this race.
She's a player in this race, a player to run third, maybe.
Yeah, that's my take. She's just I think she's a cut below in here.
I mean, I haven't looked at the weather. I will say if the track comes up wet, she becomes.
It won't be on Saturday. We're supposed to get a lot of weather tomorrow, but Saturday and Sunday both look to be like 80 and sunny, so it should be fast and firm.
I mean, Wet Paint. I don't know. This is just a takeout reducer, special in this. I don't know, man.
Josh sees S0 and he's like, takeout reducer.
I see a horse that's disappointed as a favorite twice in a row against multiple horses that are in this race. I mean, and is going to be the shortest price out of all of them. I mean, I would
guess Hoosier Philly has to go off as the favorite in that race, but we'll see.
You'd have to think so, but
I mean, I like Hoosier Philly the best in this spot. I think that she's going to have it. I think have it on her, or have it pretty easy on the front end. I mean, she's looking lucky. Might go with her, but it's just a different caliber of horse.
Do you give a little look to Southlawn in this race, who is the horse we haven't seen anything from since the Kentucky Oaks?
You have to, right?
Yeah, you have to, right? She clearly, we talk about this a lot with the Derby. There's a lot of these horses that go into the Kentucky Derby, big field, all the commotion, everything else. They just don't run their race. And then they come back and turn out to be pretty good horses. Is this one of those ones that had the same thing happen in the Oaks, big field, for whatever reason didn't run a race? Now she's back. Norm does very well with this sort of type. And I think she's a player here. I think she's, obviously to me, she's much more interesting than Wet Paint is. But, is she the type that, the layoff and kind of returns and is a major player in here? For me, I think she is.
Put Raylu up, you coward. Instead, you get Flo.
I do wish Raylu was up. I would actually prefer her with Raylu up, but because Flo has. I mean, I realize Flo hurt me today, but he has not been riding very well at Saratoga. Let's put it that way. He's very exposed in this colony.
Yeah, I would have appreciated a much more aggressive jockey aboard South Lawn than
Yep,
than
agreed.
he got. But,
Very much agreed.
But yeah, those are the two horses I liked were South Lawn and Hoosier Philly in the spot. I had anything to do with wet paint.
Yeah.
And then who's the other Gambling Girl?
Yeah, I think Gambling Girl. I don't. Again, Gambling Girl is the same type of argument. You're in Todd's backyard and you're getting a rat up. You know, there's reasons, but Gambling Girl is going to take way more money than she has any right to do. And she's never proven that she's a win machine. And she kind of seems like she's got a little case of the hangs when she gets versus any sort of solid company, right? Like there's races she was sort of supposed to win or supposed to get there, and she just kind of never gets it done. Like you want a little more out of her. Yeah, I agree. She does have a race across, or a win across the surface, which was very impressive last summer. But yeah, Gambling Girl had a hard time getting to.
I mean, are neither of you really just thinking? I mean, Hoosier Philly going a mile at Ellis, so super speed biased Ellis Park 1.5 turn went 25-1 with a 2-length cushion. I mean, isn't that the horse that you're kind of supposed to try to beat next time out with a horse that gets that kind of a trip? That's probably going to be the favorite here.
That was clearly a prep, wasn't it? Like that's my take here. That was a prep race.
I mean, I think that was just her race. I mean, I doubt you come out of the Fairground Oaks, the Black Eyed Susan, and then prepping the Monomoy Girl to target the CCAO. It's a weird campaign if that's the way it is. I think, if anything, she had everything her own way in the softest of all trips. I mean, it's hard to think that Kendrick's going to let her do that with him being on the 6th today in this race. Not that I think he can win necessarily, but would probably ensure an honest pace.
He should ensure an honest pace, but I mean, he doesn't have the horse, I think, to press her late. Like he's going to disappear top of the stretch, and then somebody's got to come catch Hoosier Philly, and I think, her pedigree says she should be able to go further than that 1 mile trip, and I kind of looked at that as clearly the wheels came off. There was some sort of a problem. They took care of the breathing problem with her. They were trying to figure out where she was back to. I think that race versus Tax was really good. And I think, then she won in the Monomoy Girl, but they were trying to find her a soft spot and get her a little confidence boost. And I think she'll, probably takes a step forward again in this race. And Amos's barn has been pretty damn live at Saratoga so far. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is the strongest CCA Oaks field we've seen. Where are you pretty mischievous is what I'm kind of asking. But
yeah,
I think for me, off that cupcake trip last time, Hoosier Philly would probably play against, even though she does have a pace advantage over the field here. But
yeah,
what we'll see.
And there's some degree of how's the dirt playing, because we did see there's an argument to be made that the dirt played a little differently today. We're going to have rain tomorrow. Watch the early races and see, Jesus, the surface playing how it has been. Speed has been good all meet, but that's a normal Saratoga thing. Does it continue to be good, or you just pay attention? I thought Josh was going to go to the Caress though, but
No, I have not looked at anything
over
for Saturday.
Shocking.
I haven't looked at anything for Friday yet.
Shocking.
You think tomorrow stays on or off the turf at Saratoga?
No, everything's going to come off. They're calling for an inch of rain, where everything's off.
We don't need to look at Saratoga. But somebody asked about Del Mar in chat. Was it Ryan?
Yeah, Ryan was DMing me last week about Del Mar. This man is excited.
Dude, the card is stacked. The fields are huge. It's going to be a really good betting card.
Which one?
Del Mar, not Saratoga.
Del Mar.
With their 3-horse fields.
Tomorrow or Saturday?
Tomorrow. I didn't look at tomorrow or Saturday, but I glanced at tomorrow.
I glanced at tomorrow as well.
I'm gonna have to do my homework on tomorrow, because I'm gonna be doing some stuff with Nick. So we'll have to get.
So you do homework for Nick's stream. I see how it is.
Hey, I'll look like an idiot on our stream. I'm not gonna look like an idiot on other people's streams though. Because what's the Ocean Side, right? The 1 mile race is usually the opening day feature. So I
get I agree with Alex. I get amped for the first week or so of Del Mar where you get these big fields, crazy calamity, all sorts of just insanity. Those are fun cards, but after that, it tends to turn, I don't know. They just don't have the field size to maintain at the full meet.
We'll see. We'll see. Well, those first like 2 weeks last year were nuts. Was it 2 or 3 weeks,
Yeah.
Caleb, where it was just like 8 horse fields in every single race. It was crazy. Mark, there is one question. Someone's asking about thoughts on race 9 at Saratoga tomorrow.
Oh,
which I know you're probably the only person other than
David Aragona
that handicaps, more than 5 minutes before a race.
Is this 5 fucking Chad Brown horses? How many Chad Brown horses are in this race? 1, 2, 3. Oh my God, it's 5 Chad Brown horses in a 10-horse field.
Yeah, the Lake George is So first off, I'll be shocked if this stays on. If it does stay on, I don't know. Pick the lesser of the Chads. Like I legitimately don't really know here. And of course, I don't have my handicapping for tomorrow up because I didn't expect to be thrown under the bus here. But I thought I think it was 1 second. Let me figure out. Yeah, I thought the 2-horse surge capacity. I realize it's a Monmouth Chad, but if this is, look, Caleb's face. Oh, that was a great face, wonderful face. I realize it's a Monmouth Chad and the fakest Chad ever, but if the race does stay on the turf, that figure on that 2-horse came back absolutely massive last out. So I think surge capacity is a pretty interesting player in this race. If it does come off, which I expect it to do, it's a really let's see who stays in. I thought the 5 Revelita was an interesting player in there, and the 8 Trying Me Hard Out, the Jose Cameo horse. Actually, those are the 2 horses that has some pedigree that say they should be able to handle the dirt going. So let's see what happens. I would love to give you I have a amazing standout, but I don't trust the weather enough right now. We're probably going to get rain, and I'd be surprised if it doesn't come off. It sucks though, because the Lake George is always a fun race when it does stay on.
I was being respectful and waiting for you to finish talking before I hit you with the alarm.
First time for everything, huh?
Also, Ryan saying that he's never heard you drop an F-bomb on stream, Caleb. Apparently, the only other time you did, your mom was listening. So
yeah, no kidding. I've been good with that. Don't report us. I don't want to get the explicit tag for the stream.
I don't know if this comes up soft. Don't you got to go with the 5?
The horse if it comes up soft, that's the horse. Yeah.
I mean the Gaffleon Chad, like the least likely Chad of all the Chads. Yeah, probably.
Mark just took the Rosario Chad, so
the Chad that sold for like a pack of Marlboro Reds and a piece of bubble gum. Yeah, that sounds
okay. Good. I took the Rosario Chad, assuming it stays on the turf for some random reason. If it comes off the turf, I said Revelita, maybe Queen Picasso, the Clement horse is a little interesting. If it comes,
I think
off.
If it stays on the turf, you stick with the 5 because it's gonna be wet. And if you look at that form coming over from France, both the wins were over soft turf, right? So
yeah. Again, if it is soft, that's a major player as well. Agreed.
Yeah, I tend to think they keep this on the turf because if they don't, I have no idea who stays in. I mean, I could see nobody staying in. Like maybe the 8s to like one of the small barns stays in to get some favors in the future, but like it seems like if it comes off, it's going to be rough. So I think they probably do keep it on, even if the turf is a bog.
Yeah.
Which the soft turf angle, whoever brought that up at the 5, I think that's pretty. I like that. I do.
Yeah, I like that as well. The other part is it's the this is on the inner, which is the turf that did not get the drainage enhancement. So it tends to be boggier than the regular turf. So it could be extra interesting. Hopefully this year they'll remember to leave the finish line lights on.
Oh my God, I forgot about that race.
Josh, that was this race.
Yeah, you want me, Mark? Like, I don't know what it is about Saratoga, but like you, like, and bad calls at Saratoga, like with weather, like weather related bad calls.
Really?
Like,
Yeah.
dude, there was one time where I think, yeah, maybe it was the first time I went to Saratoga. Um, I needed a horse to win, and you called the photo live, and you're like, you got nothing to worry
Yeah.
about. You got nothing to worry about. And
Yeah,
then, no, I got
I
fucking
did. Yeah,
boomed.
yeah, yeah. You
And
got
then you're
boomed.
like, and then I was like, fuck. I was like, do you think this is gonna stay on? You're like, yeah, this should be staying on. This should be fine. Literally, like 10 minutes after saying that, fucking heavens opened, everything got taken off. I think it was the same day that
It
both
may
those
have been
calls
the same
happened. I
day.
should have learned my lesson that time. But
Welcome to upstate New York. If you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes.
they say the same thing about Chicago, but I don't think it's as wild. Caleb loves the weather in Chicago because it's always nice whenever
It's
he's
always
visited.
nice. They
So,
don't have bad weather there.
um, but uh, but yeah, I guess we can also make an announcement, Caleb, that we do have a trip booked. It's on the books.
We do.
I don't know how you're getting there. You don't know how you're getting there,
Well, I'm
but
driving. I just don't know when or how, but I will. I'll be there.
but August 11th through the 13th, we will be in Saratoga. That is 4-Star Dave weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So if you guys are in the area or around, let us know. Mark is there like every day, so if you ever want to chat with Mark, just shoot him a message on Twitter. I'm sure he will be more than happy to buy you a drink. Mark buys everyone a drink, or he'll hand you a beer out of his cooler, depending on where he's at.
Depending where I'm at.
But yeah, I think that's going to do it for us. Yeah, excited for Del Mar to open up. Del Mar's probably the card, the betting card for the weekend. But we figured the Haskell's got some big names. We'd cover that a little bit. I will be, as far as I know, be doing the stream with Nick Sievers tomorrow on the Racing Dudes channel. So that should be a lot of fun. We'll be playing, I think, some Del Mar live. So we're gonna try and start right around first post. So check that out, and then yeah, we'll have our article up sometime tonight or first thing tomorrow morning with our Saratoga picks for tomorrow. The obviously weather pending. But yeah, make sure you check that out at ontherwronglead.com. We each are taking one horse a day and trying to make some money. So Caleb has got a pretty big lead. Mark just needs to do better.
It's been rough. Yeah,
Just needs to do better.
I
That's
just
it.
need to be better.
But yeah, that's gonna do it for us. So we will catch you guys later if I find the button. There it is.